Друзья, привет! С вами подкаст Tuz'n'booze, я Оль Тузмухамедова, и сегодня во втором эпизоде подкаста у меня небольшое интервью с калифорнийским виноделом Гевином Чанином, с которым мне удалось буквально на 15 минут в Питере сесть, посидеть, поговорить и записать все это дело. Гевин молодой 34-летний винодел, который в 21 год открыл свою винодельню в Калифорнии, в Санта-Барбаре. Сейчас его вина можно найти в ресторанах европейских, американских и уже совсем скоро российских, буквально через, наверное, несколько недель, может быть, месяц, его вина уже будут продаваться в России. Гевин вообще такой интересный персонаж, он не получал никакого специального винного образования, он не заканчивал никаких энологических университетов и школ, он практикой на различных винодельнях в Новой Зеландии, в Южной Африке, в Калифорнии, в Европе учился с самого нуля и выучился до того, чтобы открыть свою винодельню. И самое интересное, открыть свою винодельню без богатого родственника или какого-то фантастического наследства. И вот он все это мне за 15 минут тут поведал. Момент такой, что весь подкаст, то есть весь эпизод у нас получился на английском, и я его, честно, хотела перевести, но потом я подумала, что весь лоск потеряется, потому что Гевин именно с такой американской манерой рассказывает о том, что такое американская мечта, поэтому для всех тех, кто владеет английским или только на пути к изучению, я думаю, что это будет полезно послушать Гевина в оригинале. Плюс Гевин, скорее всего, в ближайшее время будет приезжать и в Москву, и в Санкт-Петербург, и вы сможете лично посетить его мероприятие. Так что, если у вас есть какие-то вопросы, пожалуйста, пишите в комментарии, мы обязательно разъясним, если что-то непонятно. Спасибо! Today with me here is Gevin Channин. Chanin is the correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so winemaker from California, young, creative from Santa-Barbaре, and I'm pleased just to have this chat with you right now. Can you please introduce yourself the way you can?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Gevin Channин from Santa Barbara, California. I make Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. I started Chanin Wine Co back in 2007, so we just turned 14 years old this year.
Wow. So I know what I read is that you started working with wine when you were 18.
Yes.
How did it really happen? So basically you graduated from high school and then?
I graduated from high school and I was headed to UCLA to study painting, and I wanted to get out of Los Angeles. So I found a job at Au Bon Climat and thought it would be an awesome job because I was underage and it was kind of illegal at the time. So I thought it would just be a fun summer gig, ended up falling in love with it and worked there almost 10 years.
How did it happen? You just applied to some kind of job that you saw, or you sent your saying, "Hi, I'm Gevin from California," and
I called over and over, and at some point they picked up the phone and invited me up. I remember I thought it was an unpaid internship. I've told this story a lot. I thought it was an unpaid internship, but we discovered the next year that they had just forgotten to pay me.
Oh, wow.
So I had the time of my life. I thought I should have paid them.
So what were you actually doing? You came there, and what was your job?
The big job I did in the beginning was stomping on stems as they came out of the de-stemmer. That was kind of the lowest job in the winery. You would just stand there stomping on stems all day long, and it made it more efficient because you wouldn't have to. It was more compacted when you went to compost it. And yeah, after that I graduated to punching down, and that's basically all I did my entire first harvest is punch down and stomp on stems and clean the machinery.
And your art studies you quit, or you?
No, I kept going to school. I changed my schedule after the first year, so I would skip UCLA was on the quarter system, so there'd be 3 quarters. I would skip every fall quarter and add on summer school. So I would basically go to school from January 1 until kind of the end of July, I think. And then I'd work the rest of the time.
Okay, and you worked there for
9 years.
9 years.
Yes.
Going like up, learning just
Yeah.
winery and
Yeah, I didn't know anything about wine. I knew more about wine than your average 18-year-old from Los Angeles, but I didn't know anything about wine. I didn't know the difference between Bordeaux and Burgundy. I didn't know what barrels were. I'd never seen a forklift in my life, so everything was new.
So for these 9 years, you basically just learned in the winery. It was self-education and practice.
It was all learning on the job. I looked at transferring to UC Davis at one point, but I realized I might as well become a doctor if I do all that science.
Wow. Okay, so you didn't do any winemakers
school? No, I didn't.
Wow. So, and after 9 years?
It was basically a decade-long apprenticeship, but I started my own. After 3 years, I took a year off school, and I traveled, and I worked as an intern in South Africa at Hamilton Russell, and then in New Zealand at 2 different wineries, Belt Hill and Carrick. And then I traveled through Burgundy, Champagne, and a good portion of Italy just tasting wines, and then I came home and started my own company in 2007.
Okay.
So I'd done 6 harvests at that point.
Wow, 6 harvests, and then you started your own winery.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How much money you need to have in order to start a winery in California like this?
Yeah, I started the winery with my entire savings, which was about $8,000.
Okay, so $8,000 to start a winery in California, Santa-Barbara?
Yes.
2007.
2007. But I didn't own anything. I was 21.
21. Okay, just 21, $8,000, Santa-Barbara, California. Wow.
It's kind of the American dream. I don't think there's another wine. I don't think there's any old world region where if you grow up in Paris, it's not really possible to become a winemaker in Burgundy unless you have some sort of family connection.
Yeah, that's what I saw. But I thought California is pretty much the same. So expensive, so like packed with wineries already. So what did you do first?
So I borrowed equipment. I rented space from Au Bon Climat. I purchased 2 French barrels, which were really expensive, and I purchased enough grapes to make 150 cases of wine.
150 cases of wine.
And I didn't move into my own winery until 2013, so it took 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, to get to that point. So that was a huge step.
So you were doing it all on your own, with like everything.
Yeah.
Then bottling, and where did it go? Sold it to?
I rented a little storage facility, like a little self-storage that was actually temperature controlled for wine. And I would go to LA and San Francisco and call on restaurants and sell them wine, and then I'd go on the next trip and deliver the wine. So it was also January of 2009, so the economy had just crashed. So it was a really hard time to sell wine. I remember I sold 6 cases of wine in February of 2009, and that was like a huge deal.
Yeah, you probably celebrated it.
Yeah.
It was like super cool. But still, with no additional studies, with no probably just you as a winemaker and business manager and develop everything. Yeah,
and the way I looked at it is you have to do a lot of things. I love making wine. I love Santa Barbara. I love working in the vineyards. And you have to, I always think there's a trade-off. So you have to do certain things that you don't enjoy. Maybe the business side of it, maybe the numbers, maybe the bookkeeping. You have to do those things. That's the price you pay in order to do the things you really love. So I had to figure out all the stuff I didn't know, which I had no idea how to do sales. I had never done sales before.
So that's just passion for wine and for winemaking and everything that kept you. Did you ever, at that point, maybe, I don't know, 2010, 11, thought, oh my God, why am I doing this? It's so complicated. I will just give it up and, I don't know, go and do something else.
I never thought that. I did think that it was a disadvantage to be so young. And now that I look back on it being a little older, I think it's a perfect time to take a big risk like that because I didn't have a car, I didn't have a family, I still don't have a family. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't even have my own apartment.
So absolutely free to do wine.
I would put all my stuff into 2 big duffel bags and I'd move from university to the winery.
Wow, that's amazing. So now it's been
14 years.
14 years, and you're making Chardonnays.
Still making Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
And Pinot Noirs, and now you are in best restaurants all over Europe.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with, it's funny, we've had a lot of success in the most difficult markets. The most competitive markets, I would say. So
like?
California, New York, London, Tokyo, Denmark, Oslo. So parts of the world that can really buy anything they want. And everyone wants to sell wine there. The funny thing is we've actually had less success in less competitive markets. And I'm not sure why. I think...
So you don't have like an answer, maybe this market really enjoys the style of wine I make or something that...
Yeah, so I have a theory that, especially for those regions like London, where you have a lot of Burgundy lovers, that they can see the perspective of our wines and where they fit in, and especially the price. To them, if you look at a handmade wine from old vines, in great soil, in a cool climate, made in a very classic way without any compromise, and you look at the price, they think our wines are really cheap.
Okay, in comparison with Burgundy.
In comparison with Burgundy, and then for what you're getting. So I think it's almost, I say competitive markets, but it's also very educated markets. And markets that aren't just obsessed with labels, that are more quality focused than brand focused.
A couple of questions about the vineyards. You buy grapes, right?
Yes.
So can you specify the vineyards in Santa-Barbaре?
Yes. So we purchased from most of the old vineyards in Santa Barbara. So that's Los Alamos, planted in the late 60s. Biennacido, planted in 1973, and then Sanford and Benedict, planted in 1971. And then we also work with a couple younger vineyards, but in general, our average vine age is about 25 to 35 years old.
Okay, and as I understand, you use barrel not like California style barrels, you use like very modest amount of...
Yeah, so everything's aged in barrels, so nothing's aged in tank or concrete or stainless steel, but we use very little new oak, so only about 10 to 15% new oak. We also use whole cluster for all the red wines, but people are often surprised by that because it's a very subtle use. Even if it's 30 or 40%, it's an amount that the wine can really take. So I don't want people to taste winemaking when they taste the wines. I want them to taste the site. So if you smell a wine and say, oh, this, if you start trying to guess which Cooper it is, or is it French oak or Hungarian oak, or, or is it made like this, or is it made like that? To me, that's a failure of... You're not representing the site, you're representing your winemaking at that point. So I try to have a very soft hand.
Yeah, that we tasted it today in St. Pete. Cool. One question, so now how many people work on your winery?
It's myself, Jennifer, who kind of runs the office and the sales side, and then Luis, our cellar master.
So 3 people in a winery?
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it.
You all manage the sales and deliveries and everything.
Yep, so everyone has to do a little bit of everything. My mom helps with the bookkeeping.
Wow, cool. And now you produce how many bottles?
We produce about 40,000 bottles.
40,000 bottles, and how many are sold in the States? How many go?
We sell about half the production in Europe now.
Wow.
And the other half mostly in the US and then Asia as well.
So for California, half is a lot.
I think it's a lot.
It's a lot, because usually it was like some 10, 20, something in the 50s.
No, Europe's become a very important market for us, and I think, again, it goes back to classic style. The wines are also very approachable, and they also age well, so it's this, to me, it's this balance that we're always striving for, and it's something that is compelling to the old world palates.
So now, are you the youngest winemaker in the area, or there someone like that runs a winery?
I think I was the youngest. I'm 34 now. I'm almost 34. I think I was the youngest winemaker in Santa Barbara for like 10 years.
So now they are.
But I'm sure there's someone else now. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, but still, you're like an icon in this case, so this is why you got in Forbes 30 under 30 and everything.
Yeah, I had a good run as the youngest.
Yeah, so what are your plans for the, I don't know, like next 5 years? You want to grow bigger, or you want to keep, or you want to multiply? What is...
Yeah, so honestly, this is a very un-American business strategy, but I don't get any pleasure from making more wine. I get pleasure from making better wines. So I want to keep production the same size it is now and continue pushing quality. And I realized that, in 2007 actually, that you can make I made 150 cases, half Chardonnay and half Pinot, and I remember the Chardonnay was really popular and sold really quickly. The Pinot took forever to sell and was not popular. But I remember this kind of amazing thing that you could actually have an impact on the wine industry with just making 70 cases. So, especially in the U.S., you know, size is not very important.
Cool. So now you're in Russia as well. It's gonna start like your sales in February or something.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, so your wines probably will be found in most of the restaurants.
I hope so.
In Moscow and St. Petersburg. So for everyone who is listening, Chanin Wines, you can, probably soon gonna taste them everywhere. And Gavin is you come to visit Russia pretty often.
Yeah, I first came in 2014
and now you come every...
Yeah, I love it. I have the visa.
Yeah, you have the visa.
Great food, great people, great history.
Great, cool. Thank you, Gavin. I think you answered all of the questions that most of the young girls wanted to hear, like a young winemaker from California. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Большое спасибо, что дослушали до конца. Это был подкаст Tuz'n'booze. Я Оля Тузмухамедова. Совсем скоро выйдет наш 3-й эпизод, где мы будем разговаривать об израильском виноделии. Так что, пожалуйста, подписывайтесь, чтобы вам было известно, когда же эпизод выйдет. Всем спасибо и пока!